All right, everyone, it's 3:30. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is a workshop to discuss Wakulla County 2024 legislative priorities.
Why y'all standing?
Well, I thought we were going to. Oh, we always started at not the workshops. Not the workshops.
We need to pray over them. But
I thought I was waiting for you.
Goodness gracious, where's the plants?
All right. We always start with Michelle, you running this one? Yeah, Michelle's running these. Take it.
Good afternoon. This workshop is to provide a platform for CAS governmental services to discuss the 2024 legislative priorities with the Board of County Commissioners. During this workshop, staff is requesting the board to rank and prioritize the 2024 legislative appropriations request. Once ranked, the priorities will be presented to the county's delegation on October 6th of 2023, as well as submitted to both Senate and House for appropriation request. Along with ranking the priorities, staff is asking the board to review and provide feedback on the continued support of named state initiatives, state-funded programs, and grant funding for capital improvement initiatives. I'm pleased now to introduce from CAS Government Services, Mr. Jim Spratt.
Welcome, sir. Are we live? Look at there. If I realized we were in the Facebook Live era, I'd have spent more time on hair and makeup. Don't. Oh, come on, let's have fun today. So, Michelle, thank you. Commission, thank you so much. I would be remiss if I didn't first start by saying thank you for the continued trust and CAS and Connie and myself to work on your behalf in Tallahassee. Before we jump into the 2024 priorities, just quickly, it seems like we just did this a couple months ago where we kind of had a how did session turn out, and here we are again with the next session looming again. But for a quick reminder from our priorities last year, the legislature funded and the governor signed into the budget about $3.2 million for the EOC, $750,000 for fire and rescue engine, $800,000 for our library facility, $150,000 for bunker gear, all kind of checking off priorities that you all had identified last year. In addition, from a policy standpoint, again, we were able to come to a resolution, or amicable resolution, if you will, on some of the challenges we'd had down with the airport. And I think that's a really big highlight that we should all be proud of. And then both the St. Mark's Trail to Lighthouse Road and St. Mark's Trail to Wakulla Springs Boulevard are both still part of the 5-year work plan for the Capital Regional Transportation Group Advisory Committee, and I know those oftentimes come up, when are we going to complete the trails and where are those working. So that's just a quick snapshot of where we've been from January 2023 till today with session. And so then with that, I think I want to focus on what's in your packet and on the screen up here as 2024-2025 session priorities. Number 1 and number 2, and these are not in any order, I only reference them as they appear on the paper. Part of what we do here, like we did last year, is take feedback from you guys on where they rank in the priority list. But following the paper, 1 and 2 are replacements of the facilities. These were on the list last year. We both know if you've been to either one of those facilities, they have some issues, especially in times of heavy rain and high water. And I think from a functioning standpoint, during a time of emergency standpoint, we don't want our first responders, we don't want our fire and rescue engines sitting in a place where it's flooded. And so those two appropriations, both for Shell Point and for St. Mark's, would solve or remedy some of the problems we've had there with flooding. The third item, as it appears, is community center, and I know there was a little discussion previous to the meeting starting about a bigger kind of community center. I think what's working with Michelle, working with staff, we talked about what do we need to do now with the existing community center to put some things in there to make it usable, and then maybe looking down the road, where do we look at that larger capital improvement? I mean, certainly you guys set the priorities, but I think that was the general thinking. Isn't that accurate, Michelle? Is that fair? So, so the 450 would do some of those needed improvements. I think, if I remember correctly, we put in some restrooms and a few other things to bring that up to a usable facility. Again, not the perfect, all-encompassing brand new auditorium, but certainly would bring the community center up to a better state. Page number 2. All right, so page number 2, I really want to focus on the next section because these are kind of perennial, one new, but then perennial issues. Again, spoke to number 3, which is the trail expansions throughout Wakulla County. We obviously know where those are on the Capital Regional Transportation Hub. The expansion of 319, probably until, well, it will remain a priority till it's done. Whoever does it, the state, the feds, whoever does it, but that expansion, that 4-lane and all the way down, should still remain a priority in some form or fashion. And then the middle one, I really want commission feedback on this. This is brand new, and the essence of this is that I think, given what we've seen in the past few months and some discussions we've had here, I think, or we think, from a staff perspective, that funding for Florida Forever program, the Rural and Family Lands, Florida Communities Trust, those acquisition programs, even the acquisition programs at the water management level for springs protection, I think there's a need now more than ever for those to be funded fully. I know there may or may not be some properties specifically within the county that some would like to see maybe acquired through one of those state programs. And so, again, not married to the words exactly on paper, but the thought and the essence that it's important as Wakulla grows and as we look at protecting Wakulla Springs and other of our environmental and natural treasures, that we have that ability, and the state has money available to be able to protect certain key pieces of property. So let me stop there before we get into state funding programs, because it kind of hit specific county approach that we had identified, and then 3 very specific county road type projects or projects, and let me see, are we on the right path here? Do we need to add? Does anybody have any objection to the way we kind of have them ranked on the page right now? And maybe let's do some input there.
I don't personally, because I know Shell Point and St. Mark's is 2 of the things that we've been needing to do for years and years and years, and it keeps on being put on the back burner. So, obviously the community center, love to do that because of how much it can get used and probably get utilized more with the upgrades that we're able to do. But that's all I had.
Anyone? I'm good with the first page. I might, on the second page, maybe bump up the land acquisition, because I think it's going to have the smallest price tag of the 3 of them, and it's critical and controversial right now. And so, if we could put that at the top of the list, probably the only change I would make.
Yeah, I mean, with the risk to our springs from that type of development over a cave is something we need to really address, and so that being first on that list would be.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Well, and the trail expansion's already in the works.
Right.
So, I mean, we can call it a priority or leave it on the list, but, yeah.
We can do is mess it up.
No, you're not capable of that, Scratch. Exactly.
Well, thank you. So noted. I appreciate that on those. And obviously, and I don't think I noted beforehand, we have a little bit of time before the delegation. Certainly, if a new need arises, we're not making a final decision to only be married to those 3 funding priorities. Those are the 3 that certainly we had identified. And so between now and the delegation meeting, if the commission identifies something that needs to be added in, certainly contacting us, contacting staff, we can get that worked out. But as we stand today, that's kind of the list we're looking at. So I apologize for not making that clarification when I started. Going down the rest of these, it's the alphabet soup of all very important programs. obviously get a cut, or I say a cut, we get a chance to either compete or get a cut or get a chance to benefit from all of the programs. Certainly the water protection grant programs, whether it be the septic to sewer program, whether it be the springs monies, whether it be even the drinking water revolving loan and wastewater revolving loan programs. All of those funding programs give us an opportunity in a variety of different ways to help us meet the needs that you all identify and that the citizens identify. Certainly, every opportunity we have to get a grant to fund something as opposed to a loan, that's a really good day. And so we are more preferential to grant programs, but we recognize all of those programs may serve a role. There was alluded to earlier, SCOP and SCRAP. I got to tell you, I mean, those are gravy programs for rural counties. They make the world a better place. They help us plan for both capacity expansion, but also even some resurfacing and other technical concepts of building roads. And so, a healthy funding of SCOP and SCRAP is critical. County incentive grant program, much the same way, dealing with our traffic issues. Again, it doesn't make us 100% whole, but it gives us an opportunity to help make a project that may seem unrealistic more realistic. Mentioning also FERDAP, the Recreational Development Grant Program. Again, smaller scale grants, $50,000 and $200,000, I believe, are the caps on those. But they are an opportunity on a ball field or on a county park or something we need just a little bit to make an improvement. And we have availed ourselves of those in the past from Wakulla County, and I suspect we will again. Those go in the off-session time and are ranked, and then during the legislature, they usually make the decision to fund some portion of whatever those lists are. Same with the Trails program through DEP and the DEO Rural Infrastructure Grants. Last year during session, I remember standing here in maybe June, July, talking about Senator Salmon and Representative Schoaf's Rural Economic Development Bill. The changes they made into that Rural Economic Grant Program, dropping allowing a local government, a rural local government to tap into that money before they spend money out, allowing them to identify an area to build something without having a big fish already committed to be here, to be able to, that whole if you build it, they will come mentality, as opposed to waiting for the fish to be on the line and being reeling it into the boat before you worry about if you have ice in the cooler. That fundamental change at DEO helps us and provides a new opportunity, I think, and a new way of looking at that program where heretofore we would not have maybe even thought about that, because again, you had to wait till you spent 25% of the total cost of the project before you could ever get any money from the state. That's just one example of where it didn't make sense unless you had that super whale of a get coming into the county. In addition to those, as has been standard, and I assume we will continue, we watch closely, work with, and try to help out where we can with Wakulla County School Board, both the cities of St. Marks and St. Choppy, City of St. Marks and Sop Choppy. I do know how to say Sop Choppy. I just kind of blurred them together. And then the Association of Counties, and even more specifically to Wakulla, is a small county coalition. There is a lot of focus on all of the different rural issues, from county employee funding to sheriff's funding to small school board issues. All of those things tie together, and so working lockstep with those groups and supporting the things they're working on just works for us. And so again, let me stop there and see if there's any questions, comments, concerns on those.
Chris Doolan always says rule number one is protect your base. Don't lose any of your programs while you're going after something else.
Absolutely, and and Mr. Sherry, you have been very actively involved in that group for quite a while, maybe as long as I've known you. It really serves a big purpose, and having multiple members of rural counties around the state working on these bigger pots of money or programs that help rural communities is just there's just no way to describe it other than a benefit and advantageous. Okay, kind of part three of the packet are the words say it better than I can. We'll continue to seek funding for the following capital improvement initiatives. The public safety facility, the Talcon sewer facility, Panacea Shell Point sea level rise and storm mitigation. Michelle, I'm also going to ask, I should have had a note on here, did we get any resiliency funding from DEP to do some initial plant granting on that?
We got funding from DEO to do a road elevation survey in the eastern side of Panacea, and we just applied for more funding for raising or doing some storm water drainage issues in Mississippi and paving that road. So we haven't gotten anything back, but that's resilient funding, so.
Okay.
Well, we also probably need to add St. Mark's to this list as well.
St. Mark's Sewer.
Yeah.
A feasibility study.
Resiliency funding that's a big pot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Huge pot of money.
So Shell Point and St. Mark's fire rescue facilities should be going after that money.
We will go after that along with this as well.
I mean, just.
Yeah, we're in a lot of pots.
Big resiliency issues, getting our emergency thing out of being flooded. That's a big resiliency.
And that's what we want to think, we want to try to get the sewer plant out.
And the sewer plant.
That's right.
Yeah, we need to take it over anyway, so.
So that was one of the things we talked about, last week at the meeting at St. Mark's, I'm sorry, like you, what was that fact of different funding mechanisms? They're very limited on, their funding possibilities, due to the corner that they've painted themselves into. This is we brought this up, and this is could be an avenue to get this thing done without breaking the city or the county. So.
Commissioner, you bring up a good point. I'm sitting here, I learned growing up the closest distance between 2 points is the state line, or a straight line, excuse me, until you deal with legislative issues and grant funding. Sometimes the closest distance between 2 points is a couple hyperboles and a 90-degree triangle. So I think one of the issues out of the gate when you start talking about resiliency, DEO has a pot of that resiliency money, and they're looking at the planning, the laying out, identifying where your needs are. DEP, on the other hand, has allocated many of those projects. DEP to this point has not necessarily fallen all over themselves to build a brand new facility. It's been about how do you harden, improve,
What you already have.
resilient what you already have. And so putting the square peg in the round hole of understanding it's not a function of improving Shell Point. We need to move it because of the elevation and where it sits. And so that's part of what we have to work through, but noted that resiliency and those issues match perfectly.
That just seems a no-brainer to me, so.
Okay, and then I noted the St. Mark's issue as well. Moving down, the Skipper Bay Boat Ramp Facility, which again, I think that's been a county issue to this point, but it may manifest itself into something that we need Tallahassee's help with at some point in the future.
That's something also I want to try to focus on that project this year for myself as well. That's a much needed project that we need to get some federal and state cooperation on that. For sure.
That's what I was fixing to ask. Ain't that a federal boat landing?
No, it's privately owned.
Okay.
That little piece of land in there, but the feds own everything that's
around
around it. Right?
Okay.
Somewhere in there's a deal though. We can turn it into something.
There's somebody who lives down there.
Huh? No.
Skipper Bay?
Skipper Bay is the one on the island.
Now, you're thinking about Purify Bay.
Purify. You're thinking Purify. Yeah.
Mr.
Get to
Administrator,
Purify.
You ain't getting pure.
are there similarities in the needs for Rojo and for Skipper? I mean, are those something we can work together, or do they?
Well, we're a little further along on Rojo. Rojo will be Skipper is going to take a conversation with both DEP and the St. Mark's refuge folks and try to work a triangle deal out with all three of us. And I think we can get there. It's just pulling all the partners and all the parties together and sit down and talk, and then have to go after acquisition dollars. So it's primed to be. To me, it's something we should have done a long time ago. It just keeps falling down on the list because it's going to be a long haul. So.
Understood. All right, thank you for that. Moving further down the list, the Ag and Extension Center, I know there's needs there. And, while we look at what we can do locally, I mean, there may be some opportunities to work with the state UF-IFAS to help maybe prioritize the extension office there. When they're looking at funding, they're typically looking at their larger research and education centers, but I would claim some level of ignorance here that I haven't asked the question about what might be available to our local extension offices, but that's something certainly.
Well, right now, I'm sorry, Michelle, you comment.
No, I was just going to say FDAX usually has some funding that's available for extension, so.
Correct.
Right now, FDAX is focusing, from what I saw, they're focusing on more of energy efficiency and transformational things of putting solar panels on the extension offices and stuff like that. That was the latest round that came out. So
there are two programs at FDAX. You have the Office of Energy, where they have done some grants like that, and then the Department of Ag also has kind of an Ag Education and Improvement grant. And so either of those might be the right avenue for that.
And what we would ultimately like to do is get have a farmer's market in Hudson Park, the downtown park up here, through FDAX is ultimately what we'd like to have, to be able to promote the local farmers and stuff like that. But we've applied for that in the past, and I don't think we've got any traction whatsoever from FDAX. But we'd really like to set up a little farmers market and covered area, but not much.
Okay.
Covered type area through FDAX.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Community center gym expansion, kind of full circle back. We had a listed funding priority to do some ADA compliance and restrooms. I think this is maybe getting closer to that bigger question about that bigger facility, and I think it's on the ongoing list, right? Do you expand that existing facility in a way that makes it worthwhile? Do we go a different direction and do something new? But to your point. Yeah, to your point, Commissioner Nichols, you're talking about we need a community center here. I think, again, building upon conversations you had and conversations that we've had with staff, and there is the thought of looking at how we can do that either with existing infrastructure or, again, is it new construction? I think regardless, we need to do some things, restroom facility and otherwise, to that existing gym facility to make it not livable, but how about usable, more usable?
That, and you're right, and that's something Michelle and I talked about the location of this restroom facility, to be able to service, if we in the future are able to get this community gym, another addition, we need to be able to locate it so that we can utilize that other one. But you're right, the between pickleball, basketball, and volleyball, and some of the Tai Chi and yoga classes, buddy, we're renting the heck out of that facility, and we could really use another one, but those are expensive hammer knockers. That one was expensive in 2011. So to get to that point, this time we need to have space for bleachers, seating, and yeah, that one came through. If I'm not mistaken, that was a federal grant program.
It was a federal.
A federal appropriation, and that we only had that. And that was also at the time we had no money.
All right, thank you, sir. Last couple, and I'll be quiet and listen to you guys. The skate park, again, is something that the county has been working on locally. EV charging stations, and then the navigational channel markers along Occoquan and Ball Point.
The skate park, can you add on to there? Like, I went and looked at one in live oak, a splash pad that was tied to a skate park. And it was pretty nice. I sent Michelle the pictures of it.
Thank you.
I'd say the splash pad probably be higher priority than the skate park, maybe.
Well, these were built together and then had a fence down the middle.
I would agree with Ralph. I can see a lot of people using a splash pad, but skate park's gonna be very limited.
You with me a lot lately. You're getting good, man.
Yeah, so we need to switch places with somebody.
I could see.
That would be what I would think.
You said I see a good community fundraiser with the commissioner skating in the skate park.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
We do have 5 ambulances.
It'd be good for TOC probably.
One of the things I would like to get, Michelle and I would like to get some input on from the board is the EV charging stations. We put this in here, oh shucks, that was a while ago. That's been sitting here, and since then, we do have some of our gas stations that have converted and now have EV charging stations, and we don't ever want to compete with the local businesses. Is this something that y'all want to have to come off, or do you want to have it available at the? I think so. I think let the market solve that, which they are. They're doing now.
One at the hotel and one at Rockies.
Yeah.
And I've never seen them full.
We're going to put them at the parks and at the library and stuff like that, but if not, we can take these off of
I'm
you.
good with that.
Well, just to have some input, we did get funding from FERDAP for 2 at Azalea Park, so we do have funding for that. We can stop looking for money now if you want to just kind of see how the market settles out, but we will have 2 at Azalea.
And that was before everybody started putting EV. We're like, we got to do. I wouldn't turn it down if there's an opportunity, but I don't think we need to prioritize that. We're not in the business to compete with business. So. Yeah.
Okay,
It can be very
But
last.
the two we got, absolutely.
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And they're not cheap either.
And also, we have a community center plan that has a splash pad already incorporated in the conceptual plan. Do we want to add it to the community center piece here or make it a completely separate item to?
Well, we're overloading the community center with all the amazing things it can do, so
Just make it separate then?
we need to kind of,
We would probably transfer that over to the Hudson Park, like our master plan.
oh, will we?
Okay,
Well,
Both.
probably do both, yeah.
so,
Yeah.
Only part could be a problem because
You'd have to elevate it.
you'd have to elevate it, yes.
I'm just, you
You could elevate it, just,
But we have it's in both, as Michelle mentioned, it's in both. It's in the master plan for the community center, but also we have a master plan that is at Hudson Park as well for splash pad, and more than likely we'd take and transfer that over to Hudson Park.
Well, if last summer was anything of what's to come, we need a splash pad. It was hot.
Yes, sir. I got a feeling they're not going to get any cooler.
Hey, if Bluntstown can afford one, I think we can do something, because they got,
We got to do a little more due diligence than they did. Yes.
not bad though.
They're paying for it now, though.
Well, the one I looked at over in Swanee County was pretty nice too. So,
I'd like to maybe talk about some more boat ramps.
I would too.
Absolutely.
And go ahead, sir.
So I think you can't fix the past, but I think probably one of the biggest mistakes one of the prior boards did is when they passed on buying that 5 acres right at the upper bridge.
Yes.
There's a house there now, can't do anything with it, but they had the opportunity to buy 5 acres right there. It would have been perfect for parking, perfect for expanded. And I'd say either the Wakulla River or St. Mark's River, I don't even know what's available, but if something comes available, it'd be nice to have 5 or 10 acres there just so you can park and have freshwater access and, you know. We have is parking, there's no parking anywhere during the summertime.
no, sure.
There was a family on the eastern, between, let's see, not too far from the lower bridge on the eastern side of the Wakulla River. Water's down there? Yeah, and there was a family that owned some land, and we tried to pry it loose, but they wanted to sell, but didn't want to sell, so. Yeah. And it already had a kind of a semi-boat ramp. Yeah. There anyway.
there was a guy further down the river, kind of where Pafford's property is, who wanted this,
Off of Tiger Hammock?
off Tiger Hammock,
Yeah.
who wanted to sell his property to the county.
Yeah. as you notice, some of those though are, it's on the river, but it's not on the river.
It's on the river, but it's a large parcel and,
Long way to the water.
a long way to go up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But you're right, and that's the reason for ROHO, if we can, we'd always envision ROHO to, utilize some of our Restore Act funding. What's that?
The gateway to the Gluttony River.
Yeah, and I think that would be, because right now it's underutilized just due to parking, and you gotta know what you're doing to put in.
Not everybody wants to launch.
No, not everybody, and not everybody should launch there. But that, to fix it and fix it right, which we will do, is a relatively hefty price tag, and we're gonna need that help from, someone there.
It drops off and you can't launch a big boat from
No.
there a lot. But I was gonna tell you also Skipper Bay, I fish that area all the time, and when they're on low tide, I don't know how you're gonna launch a boat from there on a low tide. I mean, if it's a high tide, you can, so we really need to get somebody to look at Skipper Bay for you.
Well, my figuring was,
But you will never launch a big boat
well, but they launch in and out of there all the time now,
Yeah.
so,
on a high tide.
on high tide, so it'd be the same way. There's not much you can do, but it's great for kayakers, so it would add to our paddle trail, as well as there's a trail that goes through the forest that comes through there, and I think it could really be a great little focal point. We could put an RV park, with an RV park up there, that'd be great.
So it's small boats would be go through there, but you won't
Well,
kayak, stuff like
I would
that.
think your mullet fishermen and they would really appreciate that, and so would the oyster guys. I bet you they'd use it. That's a lot.
Oyster guys would use it.
Yeah. We were also, we could look at Spring Creek. I don't know what they're doing with their boat ramp, and whether they're ready to sell that or not, or
They just sold not too terribly long ago.
did it. Because I noticed that there's not a lot going on out there.
Mr. Chairman, I ask a question about the navigational channel markers. Do we pay for those out of boat funds or state monies, or?
FWC has a program that will replace them, so we will be applying for that grant in February of next year, sorry.
That's okay.
But ultimately, we are responsible for them, and we've used funding out of the boating fund to replace beacons and placards and stuff like that. So
That's still, what's our steps on having a pool? Because I think a pool, adds a whole sport to the high school, and give people a place to learn to swim, which we have places to swim, but we don't have a lot of places to learn to swim for young kids. It's just, except for Wakulla Springs, there's not too many places to swim that aren't fairly hazardous.
Well, you're right, and that's one of the things that we need to look at, and I would hope that, we could enter something in with the school board, help participate in that if they're going to utilize it, as well, but, we looked at it in the past, and, the funding to get it done, we've got a design not a design, but just a site plan of one, kind of what we were looking at.
Was it at the community center also?
And that would be at the community center, yes.
I was gonna say, maybe we could just expand on that all the way.
Talking about this, I talked to Bobby Pierce, and they were willing to support it on getting out. And so it's operations, we still have to get the thing built.
The operations, and one is getting it built and then affording the long-term day in and day out maintenance of it. But it is something that as our community grows that we definitely need to take a look at, that's for sure.
Usually about 33,000, that's when you start looking for a pool. We're past that.
The problem is getting funding for this. As you know, FERDAP, they can't exactly cover a pool. They can, 200,000, 250, huh? 200 is the max. So we'd have to just keep looking and see what we can find. But then we're looking at it, we never thought we'd do the golf course, and now we're doing that, so. Don't ever say never.
I just think it's something to keep in mind. We could put it at the golf course, so we already used up all that land.
I wasn't gonna say that.
We got plenty of water.
Got plenty of water swimming in.
It's those golf balls landing on your head, that.
It's gonna be covered, remember?
Swim fast. Swim fast.
Hard and
All right, well, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
Sorry,
What else? Sorry, I was dodging golf balls.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Wait,
Any other thoughts, comments, questions? Soccer field.
We don't have the traveling field here. We can't have any tournaments down here because we don't have the soccer fields to play on.
We're still working on the land swap with the feds. Yes, in fact, right now I've changed gears with the feds and contacted a couple of folks, believe it or not, someone local here that works with the Fed, and we're trying to work out a 99-year lease program on the 100 acres. And that can move along quicker.
You talking about 100 acres on 98?
No.
The same record.
Up off.
That would not-
Evans Spears. Yeah. So we're working on a 99-year lease potential right now.
So not still talking about the swap with the
Well, no, we'll just do a lease on that property because they don't want it, but yet it'll be quicker than acquiring it.
Okay.
Because we're still on like step 12 of 64.
Yeah.
Back to Congress. So the 99-year lease was brought up. In fact, that was brought up about probably 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
2 or 3 weeks ago, and we're exploring that. And we actually have somebody locally here helping us. So, we'll see what comes out of that. But yes, you're exactly right. We need soccer fields bad.
Where did the bank break this weekend? Is there no word?
Yeah.
We have 100 acres off 98.
we could do
Yeah.
it on your complex.
So we need a northern part.
Yeah, that's where
Maybe
that.
up here, a little more centralized.
Well, and yeah, another thing that we think about as well is, in some of these denser neighborhoods such as Magnolia Gardens and Wakulla Gardens is, as we finish these septic to sewer projects out, I'd like to look at some point in time to come in and look at pocket parks, all throughout to where we can have some, something to where the children in that neighborhood can come together and have a place to play. It would be, 3 or 4 lots put together. We've got that over in a couple of these Wakulla Garden areas. I want to begin to start planning towards that as well.
Talking about just like a swing set slide kind of.
Yeah, just a swing set. It's just a real simple, keep majority of the trees there and just put it in and disperse it around and nice fence and just a
Like the
place.
farms got,
What's that?
like the farms.
Yeah, just a little pocket park. And put pocket parks here and there through those communities because those folks will never, they don't have an association or anything like that, so they can't do that.
There's a lot of communities up in Tallahassee that have that, and it really adds value to that.
Yeah,
So it's-
yeah. We've been, as we acquire these properties, some of them we acquire that are for stormwater, et cetera, but we also acquire, especially with folks that want to just get rid of their property. It was passed down to them. We'll take that, and we've got a couple of them that we're going to eventually start turning into these pocket type parks. And we might be able to do some of these that we buy in the floodplain as well, if it's not too bad. So, but I want to start hitting that here soon because we need to do something to disperse instead of having people come to it. We need to have some recreation out there in these denser neighborhoods.
Keeps them from playing in the roads. A little safer.
But I think that. Can you think of anything else, Michelle?
No.
Summer?
I do want to say I appreciate all the hard work that you and Michelle and staff and everybody put in to get what we got this past year. And that was a lot, and that was a blessing to us, and I think people need to know that. So appreciate it very much, appreciate Michelle very much and staff, everybody working hard on that because, all of those counties are restricted when it comes to funds, so get that type of funding in 1 year is a blessing. If it was over 3 years, it still would have been good, but getting in the whole 1 year was amazing. So,
Plus the federal funds, and Jim was very much involved in that as well. Yeah.
forgot about that, yep.
Yeah, Commissioner, thank you. It's a team effort. Again, you hit the nail on the head. Y'all have an amazing staff here as well that helps keep everybody focused and on the right plane. So we're just happy to be a small part of it. And thank you for that. So, Mr. Chair and members of the commission, I think that concludes kind of getting through the packet of priorities, and I've appreciated the discussion. I think at this point we will move forward based on the comments and input that you all have had. Again, between now and the delegation, if there is a change or an addition, please let us know. And then, not that I can't say it never happens, there may be something that comes up between the delegation and the start of session. If there's something that comes up that's a need, please let Michelle, let David know, let myself or Connie know. We'll work through it and try to get it into the right spot or get going on the right direction. So if we can continue to communicate at that level, we'll continue to be successful.
If you get all this, we'll send you contract 5 years.
All right, well, thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Michelle, do you need anything else from us?
Yeah, I was just going to go back over the priorities to make sure that we have them correct. So for the public safety priorities, we have the 2 fire rescues as priority 1 and 2, and then the community resilience to harden that facility as 3. Is that correct? Okay. For the Follow the State initiatives, we have number 1 will be the support of Florida Forever or Communities Trust to purchase land to put it in conservation is number 1. Yeah. Number 2 is the expansion of 319, and number 3 will be the DOT trails. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then for the final, I'm looking for grants and so forth. I have the St. Mark's sewer plant, which is going to be the east side of Wakulla County, looking for funding to do that sewer infrastructure on the east side of the county. Splash pads, boat ramps, making those a priority as well for funding. Pool, soccer fields, or maybe a new rec park, I think is kind of what we're looking for, more centralized in Crawfordville area.
Additional rec park. Yeah.
Additional rec park, and then pocket parks. Is that correct? In no certain order for those grant funding.
Yeah, and remove the EV charge.
Right, and remove the EV chargers. Is that a good assessment of this workshop? Yes. Great, thank you so much.
I can just add one more thing. It's more federal, but I'd just like to, at some point, have an off-road site in the federal lands like they have in Leon County, so they can ride the four-wheelers and side-by-sides.
There was a study that was done on that, that Tweeter and all them did, and they said it brings to Leon County alone an additional either 3.5 or $5.5 million because of that.
Well, I'll tell you how hard that is to do.
Oh, I know.
I can tell you that it won't be done in our lifetime.
And talking to our ranger is if people would just behave.
Yeah.
It would.
That would be, if it wasn't the people's behavior, it would be much easier.
That's right. It'd be easy, but it's just that guy that goes, hold my beer and watch this. I bet you I can make it through that swamp. And that's when the problem starts. Yep. Yeah.
It's a good project for you to work on. I mean, perfect.
I can tell you, I did it personally on the one in Leon County, okay? And
That's what I'm saying, I knew.
And I know how hard it is, and this area down here is not as resilient as where we put it. And we looked at the whole forest to put the RV park, Liberty County, because we were directed to develop one. So we looked at the whole forest, where's the best place to put it? And that was the only area that was really resistant to damage because, they just won't follow the rules. I don't know why, but they won't follow the rules. We put up a sign and they just tear it out or just run right over it. So
I can tell you, I've been up here many times on that trail, and I guarantee you 85% of the people from Wakulla.
Yeah.
Because I've been there 100 times, and 85% of the people from Wakulla.
Commissioner Hess, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they close that at one period because the trails were so bad? Up there up Munson Slough?
Well, we had in Munson Sioux,
Like a long, long time ago, like maybe 15 years ago. Okay.
okay, Munson Sioux, that's the bike trail.
But I think they closed part of the ACV trail because it was so damaged, and they were trying to get,
They weren't official bike, ATV trails, they were just, volunteered. And that's when we closed it all and then laid out the new one. And that's, that was a multiple year project.
huge project.
And I'll tell you that multiple year project. Somebody that really, really wants it. Have you talked to the sewage treatment plant at St. Mark's? How about the one up on, at the prison, that? Opportunity Park.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a good way to handle that situation and buy that one and upgrade it?
Yeah, and believe it or not, DEP didn't give us any money for a
Feasibility study.
feasibility study. And I'm going to ask you guys here shortly to fund that feasibility study so that we can get that project jump-started. But that's what it needs, because until we get a feasibility study, it's not, but DEP's all for it, it's just they didn't fund it, and which was surprising.
No, DEO didn't fund it.
Excuse me.
We just requested funding from DEP for the feasibility study. So,
Yeah.
through Resilient Florida.
So you think that's funded if we had the study already?
Well, yeah, they said it's a great project, and it's exactly what they're looking for also is to do a septic sewer projects up in northern part of the county. We could, even extend up into Leon County if we had to, but
Who did they say they met with? They met with ARPC about the feasibility study, but that was years down the road. That's what they said Thursday.
yeah, so I think and actually it's a little shorter if we brought it back here, but the problem is then you start running, we'd have to make sure our plant's built, our new one's built, and somebody had to pay for some capacity for that, so it gets both places are complicated.
I just think we got to, do something about St. Mark's, and this is, time together. And
Oh, it is, that's really, we just gotta start throwing a bunch of spaghetti against the wall, so.
And if we pay for the feasibility study, we could use that for match, possibly.
I would think so, right, Michelle?
That's correct.
Now, when you say that, so if we purchase it, they will fund it give us the money to purchase it, right? Or we will have to come out?
Well, that's what we would ask for, because there's no way we could, you're talking a $25, $30 million.
St. Mark's, how's that gonna work?
All this would be about a $25 or $30 million project, so,
You're just talking about today, the feasibility, study,
feasibility study's $80,000, so,
to see where we can start.
yeah,
See if it can be done.
that's
Is
right.
that facility up there, is that AWT or what?
No,
No,
it's
it's not
not.
AWT yet. But, so there's some,
Hurdles.
there's some hurdles, and even, there's some hurdles. But we can get there, we just gotta start chipping away at it.
Is it more better?
It's much more better and bigger.
Are you asking us more better?
You got me.
No, it's physically more better.
Well,
Physically.
no, this is actually Michelle, she was the one that said, it's a whole lot much better, bigger. More better, bigger, more better, bigger.
In my defense, I went to school down here, just so you know.
But,
Come on now, we graduated.
Alrighty then. It's a collaborative effort.
We're gonna get blamed. We're gonna get blamed.
but you're right, that's a big part, there's some serious issues there that,
The overwhelmedness of this
Yes.
is what they're going through right now, and
Yeah.
it's a big deal.
Well, that's why I'm saying it's a solution for St. Mark's, which is, we're gonna have to come up with a solution for St. Mark's fairly quickly.
Yeah,
so, yeah, that's an issue that is, like I said, when we talked to them last week, that was, it's eye-opening, they've got an issue, that's for sure. And, they'll get through it, it's just, we're gonna end up more likely having to help them. Help navigate through it and get some funding.
we're gonna have to run for that for them. But we can do it. It's just gonna be a long play, but we gave them some advice as to how to, to go ahead and, get rid of their steel plant and use the concrete plant and do some stuff like that. So, and so I think they got good consultants. So I think they'll do the right thing to get them at least patched through to be able to hold up until we get something done. I hope. So, but,
Years.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all, Commissioners, Mr. Chair. I think we are good to go. We have our direction, and again, I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you very much.
Some way we can help you, please let us know. All right, anything else? Any other questions, comments? Motion to adjourn? Stand adjourned.